Well, he's long been cleared of the terrorism charges against him, but an Iraqi husband and father turned Sacramentan has still been fighting to stay in this country and regain his freedom. As we first reported yesterday, Omar Amin's efforts just took a big step forward in immigration court. Here to explain that and what legal mountain he still has to climb are Amin's attorneys Elise Shugel and Siobhan Waldron of Immigrant Legal Defense. Ladies, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
For those who may or may not recall, Omar Amin has spent more than 1,300 days away from his wife and children after being accused of helping to kill an Iraqi police officer, something proven using cell phone tracking and other data that this refugee could not have done. Still, he was facing deportation per an effort enforced by the Trump administration. Elise, what was it like finally hearing yesterday that he would not be deported?
We were really pleased to hear that the immigration judge agreed with us that it is more likely than not that he would be tortured if returned to Iraq, and granted him protection.
How is he reacting? Either one of you that have been speaking to him, speaking to his wife and children, how are they doing after hearing about this?
Mr. Amin welcomes this positive news. He is very eager to get out of custody. We've been clear with him that we're still fighting for that. The judge's ruling doesn't mean that he immediately gets out of custody, but it's a step in the right direction.
And Siobhan, you said much of what's happened up until this point was due to the federal government's, quote, baseless targeting of Mr. Amin to pursue a political agenda in its war on terror, and that his continued detention in the name of national security is unwarranted and unjustifiable. How so? Some hearing this would say the federal government just doesn't go after people for no reason.
To be honest, that's something that I somewhat believed before working on Mr. Amin's case, but it's clear to me now that the federal government does in fact do that. The federal government has heard rumors about Mr. Amin, but again, they're baseless, they're not corroborated. And even though they keep losing in various forums with respect to their allegations of Mr. Amin being involved in terrorism, he remains in custody.
Regardless of the decision not to deport because he could potentially be tortured back in his home country upon return, the Convention Against Torture prevents that. Omar, as you've been talking about, did not walk out of jail yesterday. He has a habeas corpus hearing coming up on April 13th. Elise, please explain what's going to happen then.
Sure. So we have filed a petition for writ of habeas corpus in district court seeking his immediate release, or in the alternative, requesting a new bond hearing that is compliant with specific procedural protections that we've requested. But we do hope that the district court judge will order his release.
And for all of us non-lawyers, a habeas corpus hearing is what exactly? What does that mean specifically?
It is specific to someone who's in detention and is challenging unlawful detention.
And for both of you, what is the lesson that all of us should be seeing and heeding out of Omar's case? How do we make this system better? Siobhan, let's start with you.
I would say first and foremost, we need to prioritize holding the FBI and other federal agencies accountable for their actions. That is one thing that we must see with respect to Mr. Amin's case to bring about change to the system.
And then Elise, what are your feelings on that? What should we be seeing and heeding out of this case?
I think what we've seen with Mr. Amin's case, as we've seen with other cases where the federal government has alleged that someone was involved in terrorism, is there's often an issue of guilt by association, whether it be a family member or religious affiliation. And I think it's time that our government look beyond that and treat people fairly.
Ladies, thank you so much for joining me this morning. Again, that hearing is coming up. And of course, as we've followed the case to this moment, we will continue. We appreciate you.
Thank you.